5 allocated bourbons, all available at retail if you're patient. All selling for triple retail on secondary markets to people who can't wait. Number 5 costs $30 at retail. People pay $80 to $100 on secondary for the same bottle. Number 1 costs $60 to $70 at retail when you find it. Secondary, $200 to $300 plus for the same whiskey in the same bottle. Here's what secondary market sellers don't want you to know. Allocated doesn't mean rare. It means distribution is controlled, and patient buyers get these bottles at retail regularly. Today, we're exposing 5 allocated bourbons where paying secondary prices is pure impatience tax, and teaching you exactly how to get them at retail without overpaying. By the end, you'll know which bottles are worth waiting for and which secondary prices are absolutely insane. Let's start with number 5. Weller Special Reserve, $30 at retail, $80 to $120 on secondary markets. This is wheat bourbon, same wheated mash bill as Pappy Van Winkle, made by Buffalo Trace. The Pappy connection drives the hype. People assume wheated bourbon from Buffalo Trace must be worth overpaying for. It's not. Bottled at 90 proof, 45% ABV, no age statement, young bourbon, probably 5 to 7 years. The flavor delivers soft wheat character, caramel, vanilla, honey, short finish. Pleasant, approachable, worth $30, not worth $80 to $120. In blind tastings against other $30 wheated bourbons, Larceny at $25 to $30, Maker's Mark at $35 to $45. Weller Special Reserve performs comparably. Sometimes it wins, sometimes it doesn't. It's never twice as good. Here's the reality of Weller availability. It's allocated, not rare. Most liquor stores get cases regularly. They just sell out quickly. If you call stores on delivery days, usually Tuesday through Thursday, you can find Weller Special Reserve at $30 multiple times per year. At $80 to $120 on secondary, you're paying $50 to $90 for impatience. That's a 170% to 300% markup for whiskey you could get at retail by waiting 2 to 6 weeks and asking store staff when their next Buffalo Trace delivery arrives. 4 more allocated bourbons where secondary prices are purely impatience tax. Number 4, Buffalo Trace, $25 to $30 retail, $50 to $70 on secondary. Yes, Buffalo Trace, the standard everyday bourbon. Buffalo Trace isn't rare. It's allocated in some markets due to distribution decisions. In other markets, it sits on shelves. If you're in a market where Buffalo Trace is allocated, secondary sellers charge $50 to $70 for $25 bourbon. Bottled at 90 proof, 45% ABV. No age statement, probably 7 to 9 years. The flavor delivers classic Buffalo Trace profile. Caramel, vanilla, oak, slight fruit, medium finish. Well-made bourbon worth $25 to $30. Absolutely not worth $50 to $70. In blind tastings against other $25 to $30 bourbons, Evan Williams, Single Barrel, Old Grandad 114, Wild Turkey 101, Buffalo Trace doesn't dominate. It competes. Here's the absurd part. Buffalo Trace is available online for $30 to $35, including shipping in most states. Secondary buyers paying $50 to $70 are overpaying by $25 to $40 for bourbon they could order online and receive in 3 to 5 days. At $50 to $70 on secondary, you're paying double for bourbon available online at retail with a 5-minute search. The markup exists purely because people don't realize Buffalo Trace isn't actually rare, just allocated in specific markets. 3 more allocated bourbons where secondary is pure insanity. Number 3, Eagle Rare, 10-year, $35 to $40 retail, $80 to $150 on secondary. 10-year age stated single-barrel bourbon from Buffalo Trace. The age statement and single-barrel designation drive secondary demand. People assume 10 years plus single-barrel equals premium. At retail, it's fair value. At secondary, it's madness. Bottled at 90 proof, 45% ABV. Actually aged 10 years, the age statement is real. The flavor delivers Buffalo Trace character with more oak influence. Caramel, vanilla, dark fruit, oak, leather, medium-long finish. Good bourbon, worth $35 to $40, not worth $80 to $150. In blind tastings against other $40 bourbons, Rare Breed at $45. Russell's Reserve 10-year at $35 to $40. Four Roses, Single Barrel at $45. Eagle Rare often loses because 10 years at 90 proof doesn't automatically beat younger whiskey at higher proof. Here's the availability reality. Eagle Rare isn't rare despite the name. It's one of Buffalo Trace's highest volume allocated products. Stores receive Eagle Rare regularly. If you develop relationships with store staff and ask when allocations arrive, you can buy Eagle Rare at retail 3 to 6 6 times per year in most markets. At $80 to $150 on secondary, you're paying $45 to $110 extra for bourbon you could get at retail with basic patience and store relationships. That's 130% to 310% markup for impatience. 2 more allocated bourbons, the secondary prices get worse. Number 2, Stagg Jr. $60 to $70 retail MSRP. Rarely found at this price due to demand. Secondary market prices $200 to $300 plus, depending on batch. Cask strength unfiltered bourbon inspired by George T. Stagg from Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. This is actually good bourbon. The secondary markup is still absolutely insane. Bottled at cask strength, typically 125 to 135 proof, depending on batch. No age statement, but generally 8 to 10 years. The flavor delivers intense Buffalo Trace character. Dark fruit, caramel, oak, tobacco, leather, baking spice with heat and complexity that lower-proof bourbons can't match. At $60 to $70 retail, Stagg Jr. is exceptional value for cask-strength age-stated bourbon. At $200 to $300 on secondary, you're overpaying by $130 to $230. In blind tastings against other cask-strength bourbons, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof at $60 to $70, Rare Breed at $45. Stagg Jr. performs well, but not 3 to 4 times the price well. Here's the availability truth. Stagg Jr. releases twice per year in most markets. Each release sells out within days or weeks. But if you're on store allocation lists, participate in store lotteries, or develop relationships with staff, you can get Stagg Jr. at retail once or twice per year. At $200 to $300 on secondary, you're paying $130 to $230 extra for bourbon you could get at retail by joining allocation lists and waiting 6 months. That's a 215% to 428% markup. You're paying triple to quadruple retail for half a year of impatience. 1 more allocated bourbon. The secondary markup is the most extreme. Before we reveal number 1, understand this. Secondary markets exist because people will pay double or triple retail instead of waiting. Number 1, Blanton's Original Single Barrel, $60 to $70 retail, $150 to $300 on secondary. This is the poster child for secondary market insanity. Blanton's at retail is fair bourbon, fairly priced. Blanton's on secondary is manufactured scarcity theater, bottled at 93 proof, 46.5% ABV, single barrel. No age statement, probably 6 to 8 years. The flavor delivers Buffalo Trace single barrel character. Caramel, vanilla, citrus, oak, light spice, medium finish. Good bourbon, worth $60 to $70, not worth $150 to $300. In blind tastings against other $60 to $70 bourbons, Russell's Reserve Single Barrel at $55, Four Roses Single Barrel at $45, Old Forester 1920 at $60. Blanton's often loses. The bottle is distinctive. The horse topper is collectible. The liquid, routinely beaten by cheaper alternatives. Here's what drives Blanton's secondary prices. Artificial scarcity combined with collectability. Buffalo Trace intentionally restricts Blanton's distribution to maintain allocation status. It's not that they can't make more. They choose not to because scarcity drives demand. Blanton's on shelves at $65 wouldn't sell as fast as allocated Blanton's at $65 that people flip for $200. The secondary market benefits Buffalo Trace by creating perceived value through scarcity. They produce just enough to maintain allocation status without flooding the market. At $150 to $300 on secondary, you're paying $90 to $230 extra for bourbon you could get at retail by. Join in-store allocation programs, entering store lotteries, developing relationships with store managers who hold bottles for loyal customers, visiting stores during Buffalo Trace delivery windows, or simply buying Russell's Reserve Single Barrel at $55, which beats Blanton's in blind tastings while sitting on shelves. Secondary Blanton's isn't about better bourbon. It's about immediate gratification and collectible horse toppers. You're paying double or triple for bourbon available at retail with patience. Those are 5 allocated bourbons where secondary prices are pure impatience tax. But here's what matters more. Learning how to get allocated bourbon at retail. The strategies coming next teach you exactly how to buy allocated bourbon without overpaying. Number 1 costs nothing extra and works in every market. Strategy 1. Build relationships with store staff. This is the single most effective way to get allocated bourbon at retail. Store managers and staff know when allocated products arrive. They know which customers are serious bourbon drinkers versus flippers. Visit the same stores regularly. Buy non-allocated bourbon there. Talk to staff about what you like. Ask when allocated deliveries typically arrive. Over 3 to 6 months, staff will remember you as a real customer, not a flipper. When Weller, Eagle Rare, or Blanton's arrives, they'll hold bottles for customers they recognize. This works because stores prefer selling to customers who drink the bourbon, not flip it. Build relationships, be patient, get allocated bourbon at retail. Cost, $0. Just consistent shopping and courtesy. Strategy 2. Join store allocation programs. Many stores run formal allocation programs. Spend certain amounts on regular bourbon, earn access to allocated bottles. Typical requirements: spend $500 to $2,000 per year on spirits. Get offered 1 to 4 allocated bottles at retail. If you're already buying bourbon regularly, consolidate purchases at stores with allocation programs. At $500 spent annually, earning one Stagg Junior at $60 to $70 retail saves you $130 to $230 versus secondary. Your investment in regular bourbon would happen anyway. Consolidating it earns allocated access. Spend $500 at one store instead of spreading across 5 stores. Same total spend, allocated bourbon access gained. This is patience rewarded with retail price access. Strategy 3. Enter store lotteries and raffles. Many stores use lottery systems for allocated bourbon. Enter online or in-store. Winners chosen randomly, purchase at retail. Entry costs nothing. Winning gets you retail pricing. Some stores run monthly lotteries, others run them for specific releases. Enter every lottery available in your area. Over a year, entering 12 monthly lotteries might win you 2 to 4 allocated bottles at retail. Lotteries favor people who enter consistently. Most people enter once, don't win, give up. Enter every month for a year. You'll win eventually. Retail prices guaranteed. Strategy 4. Learn delivery windows and shop accordingly. Buffalo Trace typically delivers Tuesday through Thursday. Other distilleries have patterns too. Call stores. Monday, ask when their next allocated delivery might arrive. Visit Tuesday through Thursday mornings. Allocated bourbon sells out within hours in high-demand markets. Being their opening day when shipments arrive means retail prices before secondary flippers buy everything. Most people shop Friday evening or weekends. Allocated bourbon arrives Tuesday to Thursday and sells out before Friday. Shop delivery days. Get retail prices before flippers. Simple timing beats secondary premiums. And now the strategy that immediately solves secondary market temptation. Strategy 5. Buy exceptional bourbon that's always available instead of chasing allocated bottles. While you're paying $150 to $300 for secondary Blantons, Russell's Reserve Single Barrel at $55 sits on shelves and beats it blind. While you're paying $100 for secondary Weller, Larceny at $28 delivers similar weeded character immediately available. While you're paying $150 for secondary Eagle Rare, Rare Breed at $45 is cask strength and widely available. Here's what secondary markets reveal. People pay premiums for scarcity, not quality. Blanton's at $200, perceived scarcity, collectible bottle. Russell's Reserve Cy B at $55, readily available, beats it blind, ignored. The bourbon sitting on shelves is often better than the allocated bourbon you're overpaying for. Old Forester, 1920 at $60, always available, 115 proof, beats most allocated bourbon in blind tastings. Rare Breed at $45, always available, cask strength, beats Eagle Rare routinely. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof at $70. Regular releases, cask strength, competes with Stagg Jr. at 1/3 the secondary price. Secondary markets exploit FOMO. Cure FOMO by buying exceptional bourbon that's available now. You're not missing out, you're avoiding overpaying 200 to 300% for impatience. One rule protects you from secondary market exploitation. Never pay more than 25% above retail for allocated bourbon. If retail is $65, secondary max is $80. If secondary wants $150 to $300, walk away. At 25% markup, you're paying slight convenience fee. At 150% to 400% markup, you're funding someone else's bourbon collection. Wait, build relationships, enter lotteries, buy available excellence. Never pay triple retail for bourbon you can get at retail with patience. 5 allocated bourbons only dumb people pay secondary for. Weller Special Reserve at $80+ instead of $30 retail. Buffalo Trace at $50+ instead of $25 retail. Eagle Rare at $80+ instead of $35 retail. Stagg Jr. at $200+ instead of $60 to $70 retail. And Blanton's at $150+ instead of $60 retail. All available at retail with patience and relationships. 5 strategies strategies. Build store relationships, join allocation programs, enter lotteries, time delivery windows, buy available excellence. All beat secondary prices while delivering better bourbon or saving hundreds annually. Smart bourbon buyers stopped chasing allocation years ago. They buy what's available now or wait for retail. In 2026, no excuse paying 2 to 4 times retail for bourbon available with patience. We're Cask Index. Subscribe and see you in the next one.